Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Mike Farley with Poolside Perspective Podcast. And if you don't know who we are and you're tuning in, we are the homeowner's guide to pool and outdoor living, everything. So anything that you want to think of that you're going to do in your backyard, we probably have discussed it on an episode. And if we haven't, send a question in for us and we'll cover that. So we've got a really cool outline of stuff we're going to go over today. You want to kind of go through it, Trey?
Yeah, I'm Trey Farley, and I'm the guest co-host until Kevin gets back, so we're excited for that. Today's topic is going to be in-floor cleaning. So a lot of homeowners probably don't even know what that is. But
Most don't.
Yeah, our star guest today is going to be Will. So maybe just give a little introduction of who you are and where you come from and everything, all the good stuff.
So, if my dad was still alive and he was in the room, I would tell you that I'm a true Texan.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, but according to him, I was still a Texan because that's where he's from. He's from East Texas. So Will Priest is my name. I've been in the pool industry, depending on what number I use, for 25 years, but I think I've been around it since I was a toddler. So because my father was in it, my grandfather was in it, my uncle was in it. So I've been in the industry for a very, very, very long time. I've mostly been around in-floor cleaning and circulation systems.
So you have chlorine in your blood?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. There used to be kind of an industry joke, but people would say I grew up teething on an in-floor pop-up head, which we don't know what that is yet, but we're going to get to that later in the podcast today, what that is, but it's kind of a funny joke.
So start us out. Explain to us how, a little bit of, how you got into the pool business. I mean, you grew up around it, but, did you start at it initially, or did you kind of wander off into something else and then come back to it? How did this occur?
I really didn't want to be in it. My father was working for an in-floor cleaning circulation company called Caretaker. It was started back in the 70s. He worked in the R&D department. So I've seen the tinkering. I've been around it for a long time, but I just had no interest of the pool industry until I got into high school. And then I wanted stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted a truck. I wanted to have things. And he, at that time, had left Caretaker and he was doing pool plumbing. So he said, "You want to have nice things? Then come to work." So I was a ditch digger. I dug ditches. When I was very young, I paid for my trucks and things that I bought in high school. I wasn't around very much with my friends during the summer. So that's how I got into it. After high school, I wanted out. I didn't want to be in it anymore.
So didn't want a good tan anymore. You just wanted to get out of the hole.
Yeah. So spent a couple of years in school and realized, you know what? I miss it. It's not that bad. Maybe if I get a job again, I won't have to be a ditch digger. So I've been in it ever since I left high school, basically. So
wow.
Yeah. My uncle, Les Matthews, homeowners won't know who he is, but he's the original inventor and developer of the company called Caretaker. So I've been around in-floor ever since it's ever been around, as long as I can remember. In the late 80s or the mid 80s, I started knowing what it was. I started seeing this, what has been described to me as a underwater sprinkler system in a pool. That was the first thing I knew about it. Like, it pops up, it looks like a sprinkler system, and it's doing something. I didn't know what it was doing because I was still digging the ditches at that time, but that's how I got into the industry. Never left since. I've been in one aspect or another, anywhere from construction to sales and design like you, to being a representative, in which I've done in the past. About 15 years, I've been a sales rep for a manufacturer. That's what I do today.
So how did you get from Phoenix to Texas?
Economy. So in 2007 and 2008, when the pool industry started to crash, one of the first markets was Phoenix. One of the second markets was Florida. Always being connected to Texas, always spending lots of time here, always being connected with family and friends that were in the industry. It didn't seem as bad here. So by the end of 2011, beginning of 2012, I came to Texas. So.
Yeah. We survived that recession better than anybody else, I think, in the pool industry.
Yeah.
And we were blessed to have, because I know my buddies in Sacramento, literally the industry dried up, and went from doing hundreds and hundreds of pools to like, oh, we did 30 for the year type situation, which was.
Yeah. At the time that the economy was crashing, I was a subcontractor. I mentioned my father was a plumber. He added plumbing and excavation, became ill, and I had left being a manufacturer's rep in 2008, 7, and took over his business. And I rode that for a couple of years, probably the roughest ride I've ever seen. You know, hey, taking dad's business over, and by the way, the faucet was just turned off. There's no money coming in. So I look at it, though, as a great learning experience. It was very good for me personally to go through it and know that, it's all good in the end. You can make it work. Pool industry is a blast. It's a lot of fun. Yes, there's up and downs in the economy, but it's still a blast.
So I know a few things about you, and I don't know how. I thought this might come out in the story, but it didn't. So I have to ask. So what's your tie-in with Japan?
Thanks for asking, because I love Japan. So,
I know you do.
Yeah,
so you just got back from there, right?
I feel like a Japan nerd because of my connection with Japan. During that time that I was in college trying to avoid the pool industry, I got involved with an organization called Young Life, and I was in school in Oregon, and the Pacific Northwest has a lot of Asian influence. If you haven't been there, go to Seattle, you'll see.
Oh, it definitely
or
does.
Portland, where I was at.
Right.
And just fell in love, making friends with Japanese, and ended up volunteering to go to Japan in between one semester to work with Young Life, which was a Christian outreach. And I stayed 6 years. Did not return after 6 years. My parents thought I was gone. They had lost me because I didn't come. I loved it. I just had a blast. So I lived there for 6 years, got pretty good with the language. And then at that age, I got married and decided it's time to get serious again and came back to the pool industry in the United States. But I've always loved Japan. I mean, obviously you saw my social media post that I was there a few weeks ago and just really enjoy it. So that's my connection. I love the people, love the culture.
Awesome. That's someplace I'd really love to go at some point in time, just because of the, studying landscape architecture. You have the Eastern influence and you have the Western influence. And, a lot of people, when we were studying in college, we studied mostly the Western influence, but the Eastern influence is just a huge part of design, I feel. And they have a very unique perspective and one that I enjoy thoroughly. And I know a lot of people in our industry have gone over there and experienced it. I know Jason Brownlee just went over there a couple of times recently because his son was an exchange student for a year. But anyway, that's something I look forward to someday.
Yeah, not that it's on topic, but I would encourage anybody to experience the culture more than just traveling Japan. The culture to me has just been so influential in my life. You can't find a society on earth that's more unified of supporting each other. It's just, they all look out for each other. You take an escalator, everyone's on the left so that people that are in a hurry can go to the right. It's a simple comment, but that's their society. They really look out for each other. And I think it's admirable to be in a culture like that. So not that that's pool related, but I have
it's good. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's dive more into the pools. Let's just since we're getting deeper into the podcast, let's probably talk in layman terms. Describe what a floor system is, just in general, and then we can dive into the details. After that.
Yeah. I've already mentioned a little bit about the sprinkler concept. So I usually take someone that's really trying to understand in-floor cleaning and circulation systems. What is it? It's in the name. It's in the floor of the pool. That seems obvious, but where it came from, in the 70s and 80s, there were 3 different manufacturers that were starting to develop the concept, more than just floor returns, because there were pools that just had floor returns in the bottom, but they weren't really cleaning systems. So I have a funny story. Early on in my career, I was looking for a house. My wife and I were looking for a house in Phoenix, and we were looking at older homes, and I happened to look at a house. I looked in the backyard. There was a pool. I immediately attracted to that, being in the pool industry, and I noticed there's holes in the bottom of the pool. I'm like, well, that's odd. It obviously must be an in-floor cleaning system, but these were just holes. There was nothing inside the pipes. You could look down in there, and I'm wondering, how's the water in this pool? Why is there holes? A little bit investigating the project and found out that, hey, it used to have some kind of in-floor cleaning system. I didn't think a whole lot about it, and I mentioned it to my uncle. I was like, hey, I was looking at a house. He's like, what's the address? Tell him the address, and he says, oh, that's one of my experimental pools back in the 70s, because the house was built in like 68 or 69. And he was a pool builder as he was developing this in-floor system. And he says, yeah, that's the pool. I remember it. I actually retrofitted my own fitting that went inside the pipe in the bottom of that pool. I went down to the hardware store and I bought Rainbird sprinklers, and I got them to fit in there. And he put some valves over at the equipment, and he had the heads popping up. So that was one of his first concepts. Not known to him, there were 3 other guys in the Valley, in Phoenix at that time, or 2 other guys in the Valley that were doing the same thing, coming up with the same concept. A little different approach than he had, but.
So there, the predominant thing that you were trying to clean was the sand.
Yes.
And so
yes. Yep.
I know initially when I worked in Northern California, we were one of the first installers of in-floor cleaning there. And so the rule was if you were in the Valley, not the foothills, you could sell in-floor cleaning. Mm-hmm. But if you went to the foothills, you weren't allowed to sell it. And I was like, what does the geographic location of it have anything to do with anything? They said it's not. It's the trees. In the Valley, there are no trees.
Yes.
I mean, it's just flat as can be. It's just farmland. That's the way the Sacramento Valley was. But you get into the foothills, you got into the oaks. And they said, this does not work with leaves.
Yes.
And it only works with sand. So, because I had a client that moved from the Valley up into the foothills, and he's like, oh, I love my in-floor cleaning system. I want one up here. And we told him, no, you can't have it. And they were like, well, why? Well, he was like, but I want it. You know, and they're like, nope, you can't have it. And they explained it to him and to me, because I was a sales rep, I didn't understand. And so when I actually built my personal pool, you know, I have 85 oak trees on a half acre. I didn't put in-floor in.
Yeah.
Now they changed it after that and made it better.
Yes.
And so we'll get into that in a little bit. But so everybody was trying to deal with the sand there in the Phoenix area.
Yeah. The original concept was, and I have to speak biasly about Les. He's my uncle and relative. His original concept was it's got to be a better way to clean a pool. And back then, pools, most of them weren't even cleaned. You know, there was a couple of different cleaners on the market.
Oh, you had the Arneson thing with the whips and everything. Yeah. I mean, that was a crazy cleaner.
There was the whips. Remember the whips in the wall were like these long water hoses that just spun around. If you ever put a water hose in a pool and let it go and it just flaps around, that was a concept. So he was just, got to be a better way. Not only a better way to clean it, but aesthetically more pleasing and just, you know, it's a big investment. So, but the history of all of them had this concept. They all got into the manufacturing side of it, and it started working. It started working really well in Phoenix. And that's why that's where the nucleus is. That's where it was born. Because in Phoenix, there's not a lot of trees. If there are, most trees, any type of leaf they're falling is like a mesquite or a flower. So it wasn't like a big concern to be focused on it. Then it started growing into other markets like Sacramento, like North Dallas, South Lake, Tennessee, all these other areas started growing, and that was the problem. It's like, okay, we can get a lot of dirt out of the pool, but how are we going to handle these leaves? So most of the manufacturers now have what they call a debris removing drain. It's exactly what it is. It's large enough, it has a large enough opening, the drain system in your pool, to start pulling in heavy debris. And that's when the industry really changed. That's when it really started growing and people were asking for it. There's a caveat. They can't clean it all because nothing is big enough. I mean, you know that in some markets, this entire table would be stacked up 2 foot tall full of leaves, but it's getting a big, big, big portion of the leaves out of the system because of the debris drains that are out there now, that are in the market now.
So the debris gets taken out of the drain and gets sent where?
So in most cases, in a high leaf area, you're going to have a leaf canister. That canister goes directly in front of the pump that you're familiar with. It has a basket in it, and it's before the pump, so that allows the leaves to go through the debris drain, through the plumbing system, up into the leaf canister and be trapped before it gets into your pump. And then you simply clean that out. Why the second vessel is if anybody has a pool or an experienced a pool that gets full of leaves in their pump basket, it can cavitate and prematurely wear your pump out. So we created this system so that it goes in there, traps. If it's completely full, it still has flow. The pump won't cavitate, and then you can empty the leaves out of the canister.
That's a big canister too.
It's pretty good size.
Yeah.
We wish they could
skimmer.
be. Yeah. We wish we could be huge, but then we have a hydraulic issue when they get too big.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about the efficiency of the cleaning, what do you think is describe the efficiency of the in-floor system in your opinion?
Sure. This is where I kind of get nerdy. We keep calling it an in-floor cleaning system. It is. Yep. It does a phenomenal job cleaning, especially with the advancements in technology. But I have way more convinced that it's way more than that. And it's about the circulation aspects of it. If you can envision what a traditional pool looks like or that you may have owned, it's got surface returns. There's usually 3 or 4 surface returns plumbed into the surface of that pool that circulate the surface of that pool. What happens down on the bottom? Let's say you have an 8-foot pool. Down 8 foot where your drain is it getting circulated? No, it's not. Hence the reason sometimes in the summer when your pool goes south and you start to see algae growth, one of the first areas it'll show up is in the coves, the deep ends, the spas, up on the ledges and things like that. Because why? It's not getting circulation. So with an in-floor cleaning and circulation system, everything you're doing to that pool, filtering, circulating, putting ozone, UV, any type of system that's killing the contaminants in the water is from the bottom. So it's efficiently covering the circulation of that pool. All the surface area is getting fresh, clean, filtered, chlorinated, UV, ozone, whatever you're using, and is attacking that algae. So it keeps it more fresh. And I think that aspect, along with one other one that I think is huge on the circulation side, is the ability to heat that pool.
Oh, yeah.
Also through that floor system and bring that temperature up and be so much more efficient for the investment that you're going to put in to turn that heater on. You're not heating up on the top. So if you've ever jumped into a pool, whether it's a hotel or wherever, and they're heating the pool and it's deep, most likely you've hit a cold spot. With in-floor cleaning circulation, you will not experience that cold spot.
So you're saying that the New Year's party is going to be a lot more successful when we're playing water volleyball than, if water is being just heated on the surface.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And being the nerd I am about in-floor, I actually think that is the greatest part of the investment. It cleans very, very well. But if you can imagine a pond that has no circulation and a river that constantly has circulation, the difference of the clarity of that water is huge without filtration, right? It's the same concept. We're moving that water through that pool as efficiently as we can, and it's just stirring. I mean, you've stood next to a river that's rolling, it's crystal clear. Why is it crystal clear? Well, sometimes the weather, it's cold, but on the other side, it's circulation. Yep. It's circulating that water. There's no stagnant spots. There's no dead spots in the pool. It's getting full circulation.
Perfect. Another point to that would be, so we talked broadly about it's in-floor heads that pop up, and that's what creates it. And I know for your specific design, you'll have like 4 or 5 to a zone, and they'll pop up like sprinkler zones, and they're all directed in the same direction. That way they can actually push the debris or dirt, whatever it is, to the drain or just around. But where's like there's spots in the pool that maybe people wouldn't expect that these floor heads are going. So like benches and spas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why would you do that in some certain?
So we'll back up a little bit on your comment.
Okay.
Just to put this in layman's terms so the customer kind of understands. They are zoned very, very similar to a sprinkler system in your front yard. You got A, B, C, D zones. They come on a time. You have those programmed and they water your grass. Same concept here. The difference is these are in zones that on average run about 1 minute per zone. And you're right, it's about 4 to 5 pop-up per head. And they come on, that gallons per minute, that water flow comes out of each nozzle and starts to push the debris. But believe it or not, it's extremely random. So it's not like we're going in and we're picking a pattern and they're all turning in the same direction. They're actually turning in a new direction every time they come on. And they're stirring the pot. They're pushing all the debris. A lot of it will roll up on the radiuses. A lot of it will go all the way up to the top of the skimmer and go right in the skimmer. So some people have the philosophy that if I have an in-floor cleaning system, that means all of my filtration goes down the drain. And that's not true. Some of it, or a majority of it, does ever since the debris removal drain systems, but a lot of it still goes to the skimmer. I like to tell people to stand on the deck of a pool that has in-floor cleaning system, wait for that zone to come around to where that head is pointed toward that radius and watch it roll. You'll actually see grass and grit and things down the bottom. It'll start rolling up that wall. It'll go all the way to the skimmer. If you're standing right in front of the skimmer, debris goes into the skimmer. So there's an equal amount of how that's removed. The head placement is critical because when these are engineered by the CAD department, just so you know, the builder will send the plan into us, and it's actually engineered in a CAD department that makes sure that the coverage of these pop-up heads are as efficient and well covered as possible. Because, the custom designs that especially Mr. Farley does have a lot of spaces that can have a tendency of having challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So we CAD draft that, we put that in there, and we lay that out so it has full coverage. So that's pretty much how it does. And every time that zone comes on, let's say this pool has 6 zones, that's an average. Every time the head comes on, it'll run for a minute. It'll push the debris randomly throughout the pool. It'll drop, lay flush in the bottom of the pool, transfer to the next zone and the next zone. There is a strategy when they design to start from the shallow end to the break, to the deep end, to the spa, to the tanning ledge, so on and so forth. But it's still random. It's not patterned to where it's like a laser and it's going through and picking up that debris. It's still just a big pot being stirred. Eventually that stuff goes down through the debris, through the skimmers, and into the filtration system.
So there are certain circumstances where I tell people, I'm not of the belief that every single pool needs to have this system.
I don't agree. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, well, that's fine. However, I think that I will present it to everybody. Sure. And there's certain people that, because of their budget restraint may choose not to do it.
Totally understand.
And it's not mandatory to me that you have a system. However, there are certain pools that, to me, I won't sell you the pool unless you put this in.
Yeah.
If you want to put a bar stool in a swimming pool, I'm not about to sell some cleaner that's tied to, a hose that's going to wrap around that thing every single day, and you will curse the day that I was born. The same thing, if I do a vanishing edge or infinity edge, whatever you want to call it, pool, that basin is the biggest trash pit in the world.
Yes, it is.
And there's no way you can put a cleaner in there. And again, if I'm going to do one, you need to do this circulation system.
Yes.
The other thing is when I do a lazy river, that's another one that it's like, sorry, I'm not going to use a cleaner in this. This would be a disaster. I need to keep this clean. It's a big investment. You have to have, so, anyway, those are some things that I think people need to understand. This is a piece of equipment that is highly, highly recommended in those circumstances. And if someone tries to tell you, you may not need it, I would highly disagree in those, because I don't know how you clean those spaces otherwise. Yeah,
I got a great story. I thought of it immediately when you started talking about the bar stools. There was a particular job that I went to that it was looking at a different product. I wasn't looking at in-floor because this pool didn't have it. And in this beautiful design, there was a nice cutout for a table and a bench. It was beautiful, a place to have some cocktails, to enjoy yourself. It actually faced a very beautiful sheer descent that was on a built raised wall. I'll never forget it. And I looked down at the table, and there's this large piece of plastic. I look at the plastic a little bit closer, and if you're familiar with having an office chair on a piece of plastic on carpet, those little cutouts, right?
Yeah, right.
So the customer had put that down in front of the bar stool or the table stool and the bench. For what reason? To prevent the robotic cleaner from going in there. Because every time, he told me, every time it goes in there, it wraps around there and gets stuck, and my pool's a disaster. So I always remind designers that you're right. I'm just teasing you about, is it for everybody? It may not be for certain situations.
Highly recommend it. But
yeah, I mean, if you look at the circulation and all those benefits, I think I can win that argument. But it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit for everyone. I totally understand that, and it's not in every pool. Otherwise, maybe I'd be retired if it was in every pool ever built. But just that story alone. There's a hybrid system that could have been offered to the consumer and saying, hey, there's no way a cleaner can do this. And it's also not going to go on your big tanning ledge where your ledge loungers are setting. It's not going to go up inside that spa. Mm-mm. So you're going to be doing labor or getting creative and buying a piece of plastic to stop the cleaner in there. And just the aspects of being able to add that to the design of the pool to give that customer the best option, to me, are missing the boat. I mean, especially as a consumer, when you're doing these cool things like bar stools and all these other things that we're developing, rock climbing devices from the gentleman that was here earlier, you need some alternative, and this is a wonderful alternative for that.
We've got one that's under construction right now, and it's a cave. So how are you going to clean a cave?
Yep.
I'm sorry, the cleaner's not going to go in there. If it did, it'd be banging off all the walls trying to figure its way back out. So anyway, it's just
it doesn't go without saying that this is an investment. It is not. You're not going to Amazon and buying an in-floor cleaning system. It's labor intensive. It's got a lot of materials involved. Just think about how all this plumbing is going to be incorporated in the shell of this pool. There's a lot to it. But I think if you look at the long-term investment, meaning that what is it going to cost you in the long run, right? You've got all of this covered. Your pool's doing a great job. It's cleaning, it's circulating, you're saving money and heating. You're not taking the robotic cleaner out of your pool anymore. You're not taking it to a store to have it fixed. You're not calling the service guy and saying, hey, there's something wrong with it. I need a new hose. I need a new float. I need a new bag. This is usually, outside of some minor wear parts, a pretty one-time investment. And that's unusual that you can buy something at that price and then pretty much not ever have to replace it outside of maybe some parts that may cost you $100 or so to replace.
Yeah, that's one of the things that surprised me when I initially started dealing with the systems, because I was like, well, it's got to, how often you must have to replace that head like every, couple of years or something like that. And then I started talking to people, and they're like, I've had this system for a long time, and there's not a whole lot that I've had to do with it. Now, I know that sometimes there has to be some adjustments initially and, how to make everything work, and fine tune it.
Yeah.
But, it's an awesome piece of equipment, it's interesting. Probably the number is probably close to 90% of my clients that have had a pool before.
Mm-hmm.
And what's hilarious is most of them were never offered this option.
Yes.
And when this option's mentioned, they're like, well, how come nobody ever told me about this in the first place? 100%, I want this.
Yeah.
Because they've dealt with all the challenges that have come up, the spa that, is never clean, the tanning ledge that's never clean. And that was before we got into all of the bizarre, cool things that we put into pools today that create challenges.
Yeah.
But, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add to that point. So pretty much the spots where they're higher up, they're elevated, or there's like a tabletop bar stool where you have a column where like a typical cleaner would wrap around it. Those are spots that ideally you would put floor systems. And then there's other, like you said, that you need to have a floor system. So
I want to interject one thing. You mentioned a second ago, and I don't think a lot of people would have you mentioned a hybrid.
A hybrid system.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that where you were going, Trey?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the difference in that terminology is not really an official terminology. It's kind of mine. But a full-on in-floor cleaning and circulation system that's CAD designed from a manufacturer it has a backing of full coverage and typically with some type of percentage of cleaning guarantee, right? That's changed over the years. It used to be 99%, and we won't get into the details of that a little bit of smoke and mirrors involved in that. We won't get into the details of that, but there's some guaranteed coverage with that. A hybrid system would be more of what we're talking about, a bar stool, a swim up, a spa only. It just makes sense that, hey, this pool needs this, and especially with the designs that are out there today. I mean, I'm in hundreds and hundreds of backyards all the time, and the designs are more complicated and more complicated and more complicated, and people are investing more and more and more. And these cleaners, these robotic cleaners, are limited to only getting those areas that are free and easy for them to get to. So there are a lot of cases where consumers need to really interview your builders and say, do you have this as an option? I think if you do your research, you ask around, you meet other people that have had the full system, you're probably going to go all in.
Yeah.
Just for the reasons that we've been talking about today, the replacement, the hose, even some of them that are out there that don't have hoses nowadays, the robotics, the remotes, the app on your phone, the app's not working. There's always something going to be going on with that type of technology. This is in the ground, almost invisible. And as long as the control mechanism that runs it is not broken, it works all the time, every time your pool runs. So I think that's very unique.
So a story, I was fairly new in the business, and I had a client that had a robotic one that had the whip on the tail and type situation. And this thing got stuck on a step, and the water was spraying out of the pool. A lot of times people used to complain, oh, it sprays all on my windows and stuff like this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sprayed on a window, which was open. Had hardwood floors inside the house.
Oh, no.
It ran for 2 hours.
Wow.
Because that's what it was programmed to run before they came home and found this thing. And that was one of the things that people don't talk about a lot, but that's another thing that, just it's nice that it keeps everything where it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And what you were talking about, Will, I think there's a lot of customers they'll spend a lot of money on a pool and a beautiful backyard. And some of the homeowners, the wife or the husband, whoever it might be, they don't really swim. They just like looking at it because it's a piece of art in their backyard. So why would you want a hose in the middle of the pool? It just makes sense. So for the right client, it's just a no-brainer, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there obviously could be budget constraints for somebody, but you're exactly right. Today's pools are so aesthetically pleasing that they look better to the eye than swimming in them. And I see hundreds and thousands of pools all the time. It takes a lot to impress me. Every single day I'm in a backyard in South Lake or looking at one of your designs, and it just blows my mind. And this is not your case, but I've been in these beautiful, beautiful backyards and look out and see a hose in the pool. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, aesthetics alone, why wouldn't they have been offered this system? It disappears. You can't, if the wind's blowing a little bit and I'm in a backyard and I'm trying to get one of the pop-up heads out on my pool pole, I can't see it. It disappears. So I think you're exactly right. Even if it's a smaller pool, but you've got the bar stools, the swim ups, the beautiful spillway coming out of your spa, the lighting that lights up this thing, and you turn the light on at night and you're having a party and you see a black hose running around. No picking on certain one out there, but it's a beautiful backyard. You want to see beauty. This is another added value to it.
One thing that some people may not understand too, the heads come in different colors.
Yes.
And so you can match up the color that you pick your finish to match up very close to one of the colors of the heads.
Yes.
So that's a really nice feature, as well as the drain does that as well.
Yeah, we can talk about the drains that are out there. The particular drain that I work with on a daily basis is actually what we kind of call a pour top, or it actually gets matched with whatever your interior finish is. Pebble, which is a common finish, you pebble the top of it. So when you look at the photographs of a pool that has our system in it or our drain in it, you're not going to really see anything except maybe a small shadow on the outside of this rectangle drain that's there. That shadow that you see is where the debris goes, but on the top you're seeing pebble or tile or any other material that you're using. So it really disappears in the pool too.
Go ahead.
that drain's about a 4 foot in length.
It's 3 foot. Yeah, roughly 3 foot long, and I believe it's about 8 inches wide total once it's finished up.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about the safety aspects of that drain?
Sure.
At this point, that's a really strong thing.
Yeah, and I'm not talking just the manufacturer that I'm currently working for. I'm broad. Debris removing drains are very difficult to develop. Very, very, very difficult. If the customers don't realize what a manufacturer has to go through to develop a drain, it's very expensive because of the rigorous testing that's involved in making a drain go into the industry. Obviously, it's not a secret. We've had situations in the industry where we've had entrapments, and those entrapments come from drains that were not safe. So when in developing anything in the past 10 years, the testing involved in that drain is just unreal. Very, very expensive. When you go to market, it's very, very big investment for the manufacturer. That being said, the reason I say that is you have to be very confident. It is extremely safe. You can literally go down to the bottom of your pool with these systems on and put your hands right on it when it's running, and you will not feel anything, which makes you think, oh, it must not be working because I don't feel, quote, suction. That's the purpose, and that's the engineering behind it. So I like to describe it, I think we talked about this at lunch the other day, as more of a waterfall effect. As that debris starts traveling towards that drain, hits the radius point around whatever drain it is, the debris falls into that drain. It's not sucked in to that drain, which keeps it extremely safe. So that's why there's not a whole lot of these on the market. There's only maybe 2 or 3 that truly are debris removing drains. And it's because how difficult they are to introduce. But for us as an in-floor company that manufactures it, it's a game changer. It gets the debris out of that pool. It's more efficient. It pulls the water more efficiently out of that pool through your filtration system and then back in there. So absolutely.
One thing I was thinking of before we talked about that was we had a job where the homeowner wasn't going to be at the house often and they wanted a floor system automatically. But they were like, is this going to clean my pool and keep it clean? And my, service guy come once a week. And we were like, no, it was very heavily wooded and everything. So they added a cleaner as well. But they have to have that service guy come out 2 times a week at least to clean out the cleaner, clean out the skimmer baskets, and also the leaf canister. So I was just, you wouldn't suggest someone just using an in-floor cleaning system and it's like, I'm done. I don't have to do anything type deal.
No.
Because people have that I don't know why, but they think that sometimes.
Yeah, that is a miss. And this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
A lot of that feeling from consumers that have bought this system comes from the old history of in-floor. I kind of bounce back there for a second, and I touched on the 99% cleaning guarantee.
Yeah.
That was what a lot of the manufacturers used for marketing back in the 90s. It was a new product. Not a lot of people knew about it, and they needed some way to impact the market, to get this in the market. And they came up with the concept of 99% cleaning guarantee. I'm not taking away from that because internally, the manufacturer I currently work for, we strive for that. But that 1% is still labor. That 1% that's not cleaning. It's either a corner that's struggling or a backyard that's getting dumped on leaves. That's all part of, hey, there's that 1%. So there's nothing on the market that I'm aware of yet. If there is, hit me up. We'll do some investing that can take away the maintenance of that pool. Yeah. I challenge any other type product that's out there that cleans your pool better than in-floor, because you go all the way back to my beginning story, circulation. The more I circulate my pool, the more debris I'm going to remove, which means less labor. Let's say you're a pool service guy. You have a robotic cleaner that has a bag. You go every 7 days to clean that pool. What's the chance that bag on that cleaner is probably full, if not so full it could be tearing apart by that 7th day? Yep. A big chance.
Oh, yeah.
With this, we've got canisters at the equipment. In some cases, you can put multiples, and I know on Mike, on your pools, I've been to them. I've seen 5 or 6 leaf canisters, 4 or 5 debris removing drains in the bottom of the pool. When you look at it, it seems ridiculous. Then you look up and you see the trees and you go, oh, I get it. I understand why we're doing this. I had a customer one time complain about the leaves. Really, really, really bad. She was just at the wit's end. I can't handle this anymore. And every time I would visit her project, I would open the skimmers and they were full of leaves. I would go over to the leaf canisters and they were full of leaves. I wasn't trying to be rude. I think she probably thought I was. But I noticed there was a garbage can on her patio. And I simply said, when you fill that garbage can, what do you do with it? Of course, I throw it away. There's no difference with your pool. If your skimmers are full, if your leaf canisters are full, you've got to clean it out. And most likely, it's got to be done several times during certain times during the season. There's no avoiding that. So could they leave it unattended a little bit better than most? But no, it just doesn't exist yet.
So that example with that homeowner actually made an idea in my head. So y'all design or y'all engineer all these designs.
Right.
And so y'all aren't actually out there building the pools.
Correct.
So there's pool builders out there that might have misplaced a head one place or something like that. Is there any way that y'all can calibrate it to make a head stronger or anything like that?
Absolutely. That's great. And that's one of the nerdy things that I actually enjoy because I've been doing this so long and I know actually all of the systems that are out there, regardless if it's the one I work for or another one out there. And I call it flow adjustment. Okay. So it's similar to taking your thumb and putting your thumb on the end of the water hose and creating more pressure or more volume. I can do that in the system by changing the nozzle size at each pop-up head. So a real common area that sometimes struggles is a real sharp corner. And maybe that sharp corner is in 3 foot of water. And every time that pop-up head hits that corner, it takes the debris and takes it all the way up to the wall. And then when it finishes, it drops and goes back down. So that area, to me, when I see that, and I see that little pile of sand stuck in the corner that you can simply brush out into the system and it typically cleans up, that's a perfect candidate for what I call flow adjustment. I'll go into that zone, change nozzle sizes, and force water to hit that head that's close to that dirty spot so that hopefully I can pick that debris up and get it behind the head, out into the pool, and through the debris system.
Okay. And then just real quick, so there's also a lot of our jobs are always new construction with the house being built as well. Is there a certain timetable? Because I used to do startups, and I remember when there was jobs that the pool was done already and the house was being constructed, we had dust kicked around everywhere. And everyone's like, oh, the pool's dirty. The floor system's not working. Yeah. So there's a realistic timeline of, hey, once your pool's done or your house is done, you have landscaping down, you won't get as much dirt into the pool.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect comment, and I would say that's one area that the concept kind of hard to compute in your mind, right? Yeah. You invested in a very large amount of money to clean your pool, and you start your brand new pool up, and you got dirt everywhere. And Will told me that this is the greatest thing on earth, and my pool has constant dirt. I show up to the project, and not a piece of landscaping has been done yet. They've had it for 30 days, 40 days, whatever, but the landscaper has not got to that project yet. It's a little real unrealistic because at all times, every wind, storm, every rain, everything that happens is picking all that dirt up, sand, grit, leaves, whatever, throwing into that pool. So the pool's never having a chance to get caught up. What you'll experience is as soon as you put your landscaping in, your grass starts to mature, your leaves are blooming out on your trees, and all that develops like your yard should be, all of those issues naturally go away because it's not getting hammered every single day. And that's why when I'm educating a consumer, especially at startup, I'll often tell them that story. Hey, when your landscaping gets in, your world's going to change. You're going to have less labor. You're not going to brush as much. And you might even be able to reduce your pump run time if your yard is mature. So that is a big one that I get a lot. I get called out. The builder says this isn't working, and I'm in the backyard. It's a big dust bowl.
So one of the things you just mentioned was runtime. So what is there a suggested runtime
for
this? Yeah. Or is it very pool to pool? How does that work?
It 100% varies pool to pool. we try to start in the range of somewhere between 4 to 6 hours on this runtime. This is in line with your filtrate. Your filtration runtime is different. This is addition to. So if you're running your pool 12 hours a day and your in-floor system on a minimum needs to start out at around 4 to 6 hours. And what that runtime is, higher speed on your variable speed pump. So you might run at a low speed and it's circulating and you're enjoying some of your features on the pool. And then whether it's nighttime or daytime, it doesn't really matter. That pump is going to ramp up and send more pressure to each pop-up nozzle and start to do its thing. So I tell people start between 4 to 6. If it's a brand new startup and landscaping's not quite mature, I probably lean towards that 6, sometimes even 8 if it's a really, really big backyard that has a lot of debris. And then tell them once the keys are turned over to you as a homeowner, it's your pool, it's your backyard, it's your project. If you want to start reducing that, you can, but be very cautious that if you reduce it too much and you look out and your pool gets really dirty every day, you've gone too far. You've got to go back and increase your run times. So,
one thing I'm just wondering is what makes you, because you obviously work for Pentair pools, right? Is that what it says?
Yep,
Yeah,
Pentair. Yeah.
So what makes y'all's product different than other similar products on the market?
Sure. That's a great one. Thank you for asking that. Yeah. So there's probably 2 major factors that I think separate us from our competition. One of our competitors treats this in-floor cleaning system as exactly that statement, an in-floor cleaning system. And what I mean by that is they'll typically, not all cases, but they'll typically run their system with a secondary pump all by itself, which does a great thing. It's high pressure, a lot of water is hitting the nozzles in the bottom of the pool, and it's doing a great job. But I like to say that's a cleaning system. We at Pentair do something that our culture comes from circulation, chemical distribution, heating, and cleaning. So we use your filter pump to do that. So we're filtering your water all the time, whether I'm in high speed or low speed or anything in between on that variable speed pump, I'm circulating my system. I'm heating, I'm putting chemicals back in the pool. So that's a big separator.
Oh, yeah.
The second separator would be our skimmer systems. So if any of you want to Google this, there's a technology called Venturi. Venturi technology, and I was telling Trey the other day, I think that was developed in the 1800s. I Googled it one time. It's very, very old technology. To keep it simple, our skimmers don't run off the pool suction. Our skimmers don't run off the pool suction. And usually when people hear that, it still doesn't compute. Well, what do you mean it doesn't run off? Skimmers suck. That's how it pulls debris in. Well, what do you mean? Our skimmer uses Venturi technology.
Still sucks.
It still sucks, but not in that way. Right. So
powered by hydraulics.
Yep. So basically, in layman's terms, the water is returned to the bottom of the skimmer, like a surface return that we mentioned before, at a high velocity. And what happens is on the pool side in front of the skimmer door, roughly 50 gallons per minute pulls itself into that skimmer. So you can Google the technology. I'm going to get nerdy, but basically that's how we use our system. That's our culture. That's where we come from. And why do we do that? All the way back to the debris drain. I talked about how majority of the debris needs to go down that drain, whether it's a leaf, piece of sand, grit, dirt, dust. It needs to go down that drain to get into your filtration system. Competitors that use these systems typically don't use Venturi technology in their skimmers. So what do is they divide their flow or their suction between that drain and the skimmer. It's hard to calculate how much is going to the skimmer, how much is going to the drain. Is it enough? Is it pulling debris? So our culture and our philosophy is I want 100% flow. I want 100% pool on that debris drain, so that anything that gets in that water and it's not into the skimmers, it goes down and gets through that drain system. And that's a game changer, in my opinion, bias as it be, is because most drains are divided. Some of them are divided up to the skimmer suction. Some of them are divided on the wall. And it just allows a lot less water to be pulled through that drain system. And it struggles pulling that debris out. And that'd be the biggest difference with us, I believe.
One thing that also happens is you can't make a skimmer and those other systems work in a low speed situation.
Yes.
And so you either have a dirty pool because the skimmers aren't working. The math doesn't work.
Yes.
And so that was the coolest thing when I first found Venturi skimmers. I was like, these need to go on every single pool, regardless of anything, if you're using variable speed, which is now required by law.
Yes.
And so if your skimmers are going to work efficiently, the only way, if you don't have a Venturi skimmers, you have to run them in high speed.
Yep.
Which defeats the whole purpose of having a low speed pump in the first place.
Yep. And another really good one, that's exactly right. Another real good thing about the Venturi technology, as I mentioned, it's return water, right? So I got water returning to my skimmers, making them, quote, suck pool debris in. If you've ever had a pool, you know that if you're gone on vacation like the one gentleman you met, and all of a sudden your water level drops below that skimmer, what happens to your pump?
Fried.
It can burn it up.
Oh yeah.
And nowadays a pump is $2,500. That's a lot of money. It is to me anyhow. And I wouldn't want to take that risk. What happens with our system if the pump or the pool goes dry? Nothing, because it's only sucking from the drain. So that entire pool would have to drain before that pump ever gave out. And that is a peace of mind that I think people need to realize. There's other skimmers on the market that do Venturi. The one big difference is tied back to your comment, Mike. We run with 7 gallons per minute, 6 to 7 gallons per minute. So that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but what that means is that pump can run really, really, really slow, and that debris is still coming into that skimmer. It's a game changer, in my opinion.
Huge.
Yep.
Huge. We're going to take a break for design concepts now. So design concepts, what we're going to do is talk about why we did the things on a particular job.
So we're going to do a design concept. So we had an episode about floor systems and we went real deep on that. Is there a specific job that you want to talk about that has a floor system? Does any come to mind?
Well, we recently finished a project, and it was also in the category from last week to blow it up and start over again. So we came in, and this was a house that they did a drastic remodel on, and it is a beautiful home now. And in the same thing, the backyard is a beautiful pool now that very much reflects the architecture of the home. This pool is a vanishing edge pool. And so with a vanishing edge pool, it also has a spa, and it has in-floor cleaning. And the advantages of it is that it cleans that in-floor. The advantages of it is that it cleans the vanishing edge basin every single day. It cleans the spa every single day. It cleans the tanning ledge every single day. And so with those things, you have a very neat, clean, tailored project. Now, one of the things that's very popular today is to use a lot of synthetic turf.
Yeah.
And so what they decided after we did the project and started is that they were going to turf the lower terrace. And so they basically wrapped around the pool on 2 sides and fully turfed that space. The challenge came in is we had a seat wall by the fire pit, and the initial design, we had a planter area that was set there. And they decided that it was decided to take the planter bed out and turf that whole space. Well, that's where the in-floor valve was.
And this is right in front of the negative edge tank area.
It's in between, yes. So it's close in proximity to the pool and to the spa and to the vanishing edge basin. It was put in a place that was designed to be a planting area so it could hide it, but then they decided to take the plants out and put turf in, and it's very difficult to hide an in-floor cleaning valve in a turf area.
Yeah, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
It sticks out a little bit. So the question would be, should we have put it somewhere else? Well, if we had known in the very beginning of the project, that may have been a possibility to put it somewhere else. The challenge is there's also certain elevations you have to have all this at. And so that would have been difficult given that you turfed the whole thing. But the discussion should have been, if we were going to change it, then what could have been some alternatives. And we suggested some alternatives, which they basically decided to go with the straight turf. So that makes it a challenge. So it's just something to think about. It's something that is set at the very beginning of the job.
Yeah.
So you set the plumbing. That's like you dig the pool, you steel the pool, you plumb the pool, or plumb the pool, steel the pool. It depends on some different things, which happens first. But it's set at the very beginning. And this project went on for a year. And so we initially talked about it. There was no problem. But then things changed. And things do change. But that's a very difficult thing to change later on. So it's just something to think about if you're building a project. That's something that's important to consider on where it's going to be and to make sure it works to the best for the builder and for the homeowner.
So that job also has a fire pit area and outdoor kitchen. Do you want to talk about what maybe sight lines and why you did what you did?
Sure. So one of the things on that particular pool is the sight lines. As we looked out, we wanted to look at a beautiful piece of property. I mean, very big, I think 3 acres.
Bunch of trees.
A bunch of trees in the back. We removed quite a few trees up by the pool. But the vanishing edge was, as you looked at your primary sight lines, you look across the pool at the vanishing edge, which looks then across into the turf area out into the forest. So one of the things that we did is we pushed the spa all the way over to one side because it was closer from an access standpoint to a door. Also, it put the water features coming in out of the raised spa directly in the sight lines of the front door as you came out, although the back of the house is almost all glass. So you have directions that you can look in every direction. But as you walk in the front door and you look out, you see the spa and the spillways coming out of that. When you have a vanishing edge, you don't want to create a lot of water movement because it breaks up the reflective quality of the surface. And so if you're going to have water features, it's really helpful for them to be way over on one side so that you can keep the water as still as possible. And then we wanted to have an outdoor kitchen and cabana, but we didn't want to block lines of sight going out to everything else. So it was almost tucked into the side behind a part of the house. So it wasn't as noticeable in blocking sight lines as you looked out. But right between the cabana and the spa is where we put the fire pit because, again, interaction. People want to hang out in the cabana. People want to hang out by the spa. In fact, we even used the side of the spa as we went to the lower fire pit area. It became part of the built-in seating around the fire pit itself. So it came in really nice. We always put a 3-inch pitch on a seat back, especially around a fire pit area. So it's just like your chair. It's not straight up and down. There's a little bit of a slope to it. So, you had the proximity of the fire pit, so if you're out in the wintertime and in the spa and you want to go sit by the fire pit, you can do that. So it was a nice interaction of space in the whole space that we had. One of the things that we did to also helpful with the lot is we transitioned off the existing porch down 18 inches. So the seat walls that were all around the area where it wasn't steps then became seating areas for larger gatherings and stuff like that. So it's a really pretty project that we'll be photographing soon. We didn't get a chance to photograph it yet because Trey decided to execute all the drones. So in 1 week,
Order 66, they're all gone.
in 1 week, you killed 2 drones.
I know.
So one took a bath, which did not recover from, and the other one hit a tree and then hit the top of a column wall and then crashed into the neighbor's yard. Luckily, the dogs weren't out over there, so you were able to retrieve it, but the cost of repairing it was, it was prime day and drones were on sale, so that worked out well, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll have photographs of that one coming soon.
Yeah. So more of the story, don't push the boundaries of the drone. Listen to the sensors. they're there for a reason. Yes. Don't turn them off.
or get close to it and don't look it across the whole yard.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we have fun and we'll look forward to having some more fun sometime soon. probably next week. So anyway, actually, we have a really cool guest coming next week. So check our Instagram, and we'll have some advertisements of who's coming. And she's a very special individual that you and a lot of your children will enjoy listening to. Now, Moses had a question. Moses had a question. Moses almost always has a question. Yes. So Moses said, what happens when the head pops up and I'm sitting on it?
Well, family shows, so we won't say.
Yeah, well.
It's funny. It is a very common question. What do I do with the in-floor cleaning pop-up heads when I'm swimming? Yeah. The good thing is they're almost indestructible. You can step on them and stand on them and push on them. If you get real aggressive, you can probably break them. It is plastic, but it's pretty simple. We've been talking about it the whole time. Variable speed pumps. So what I tell people is if they're concerned about stubbing their toe or stepping on it or getting goosed by one in the spa when you're using it, simply turn the volume of your pump down to where the heads don't rise. Because there's a point somewhere in that low RPM range where the heads won't even come up. They'll get circulated, they'll heat, the chemicals will go through the system, but the heads are kind of floating or barely coming up, and you're never going to have that issue.
So I just have them programmed to run them at night.
Yes. Another great option.
Your utility costs with a lot of utility companies are also lower at that point in time.
Yeah.
Not my co-op, of course, but
that's a great thing that I like to tell people. Look, it doesn't matter if you're in Arizona, Florida, Sacramento, Tennessee, we all have storms, right? So if you're running at night and you look up at 6 o'clock in the morning when you're having a coffee and you got a storm coming in, turn it on high speed, because as soon as that debris starts hitting that pool, now I can get it out. So it's going to help the system along. Set yourself up a timer to run 3 hours, hit a button, and boom, that system takes off for 3 hours and you trap that debris in between that storm. It's a great way to handle it. But running it at night, to me, is the best way. Personal opinion. It also, because of circulation, is going to help the temperature of your water be a little bit cooler because it's running at night and circulating. But I want to wake up to have my coffee in the morning and I want to see a clean pool. So another reason to run it at night.
We're going to take a break here for a second and get into outdoor living. So with outdoor living, we like to go to barbecue bits here. We're going to share some information of everything that you may want to consider in your outdoor living space as far as features, especially for the kitchen. Hope you enjoy this. So after we're cooking, a lot of times when we're cooking for a big event, we need a warming drawer. Sure. So explain pros and cons and how that might work.
We haven't seen really any cons. It just is going to support the volume of food that's been cooked. And we're seeing these gain more popularity, because I'm going to touch on some things that'll help you guys sell more warming drawers. The first is the volume. It's holding volume, right, for the party. That's where it's value added. The second thing is you don't have to mount it downward here at the bottom. You can mount it high so it's right underneath the counter so you don't have to bend down. We see a lot of people use warming drawers for baked potatoes. So if you have a baked potato bar, it's really easy to do. After the meal is over with, though, a lot of people don't know is that you can take towels, roll them up, set these down to low, and put them in the warming drawer in the winter, and when everybody gets out of the hot tub, they have a nice, fresh, warm towel.
Oh, sweet.
And that's where you're going to get your most sales out of warming drawers, with warm towels. But remember to put it on low, not on high. So,
that's awesome. Okay. Well, appreciate that tidbit of information.
You bet.
So I hope you enjoyed the barbecue bits that we just featured today, and we'll have more coming up next week. If there's something in particular that you're interested for, let us know, and we'll get back into the episode now. So I did have one question, and I don't know how many people do this, but we do a lot of perimeter overflow spas. Mm-hmm. And you have the channel that's in between the perimeter overflow spa and the edge of the deck that's not in the main body of the pool. So do a lot of people put heads in there?
That's a great one. We almost missed that. Yeah, absolutely. So typically, and you've designed these, that channel that's between that raised zero edge spa, vanishing edge spa is pretty narrow, sometimes 8 inches.
Right.
So a typical pool guy's brush is not going to be able to reach in there and pull that out. So it can be a area that gets pretty frustrating, especially as sand and paver dust, or sand and all that stuff builds up in there. So yeah, we actually design those pop-up heads to be inside there. One area that could be a little bit of a challenge is the pop-up head comes on and it splashes out. That's a common call that I'll get. So we have two options to get rid of that so that it doesn't splash up on your deck. Is a stationary head that does not rotate. So it pops up, stays in one direction, and creates a channel like a river around those. Or we can reduce the flow on those nozzles, kind of like that flow adjustment I talked about, down to a smaller mini nozzle or very, very small nozzle that'll still create that river flow to pull all that debris out. So to pull all that debris out, it's almost a no-brainer. It needs to be in there because there's really no way to clean those. So
another thing that's real popular today is the floating pads.
Yes.
So they go through the pool. I'm sure this would really help in those aspects as well.
It's the same scenario. Yeah, I was recently on one that had, 5 or 6 very, very long pathway across the entire pool up on this big, big, big tanning ledge, and it had troughs. And luckily, we designed in-floor inside it. So each trough had alternating pop-up heads to push that debris out into the pool. That's another area. Again, that could be a hybrid system to where you're not doing the full, if you're doing maybe a simpler project, or it's just kind of a no-brainer to me to have those in there and make sure you can clean that up.
So we were talking about the in-floor head and where to put it. So one of the common questions that people have as well is, how often do I have to get into this? Because I think their concern is this is something part of routine maintenance, and I'm going to have to. Could you explain?
Yeah.
that?
So the actuator valve, our particular one is called a low profile valve. That's a hard one to say. In which we talked about putting in planters and stuff. So I've even had people completely cover them up with river rock or whatever, because we can tell the builder that's okay because the maintenance is extremely low. So typically, what we've done in our research is that life expand of that mechanism that's inside there is roughly somewhere around 5 to 7 years. So literally that means on occasion throughout those years, maybe you have a situation where it needs to be open and serviced. It's fairly easy to do. I don't recommend homeowners to do it because it is very, very mechanical. It does have a lot of moving parts. So a professional that's been trained by us, you definitely want them to put this in. It's pretty quick and easy. It's all one kit.
Yeah.
You can purchase it somewhere. The builder or the installer, the maintenance guy can purchase it as a complete kit with instructions and reinstall it for you. The pool should be down no later than just a few days waiting for his schedule. It's still probably going to circulate when it breaks. It's not like your pool's going to shut off and all of a sudden it's going to turn green because your in-floor is not working. Usually when it breaks, it's stuck on one zone. That zone is still circulating, so you're going to get by for a few days in the summer without having to overreact and try to get somebody out there really quick. That ties into the pop-up head itself. People, what kind of maintenance? Do you have to take it out occasionally and clean it? No. On ours, if you were to look at it and see it, which I didn't bring one, I probably should have, we have fins in the bottom of it. So if you flip it over and look in there, and if you follow me on social media, you'll see some of these videos I do about it. When the water starts coming to that head and it starts to rise up, there's little fins on the outside that allow water to pass, and any debris or grit that's got in that nozzle will naturally clear itself out. So it's very rare that you'll have to do any. If you had to, let's say the zone had passed and it's moved on to another zone and there's a head stuck out in the middle and it's popped up. Could be that a large rock had passed through and got stuck in there. What I typically do is I take my pole or my brush and I'll tap it and let it drop. Let it cycle around, and 90% of the time that takes care of the issue. But let's say it's broken. Let's say it's broke. It's pretty simple to fix. If you wanted to do it yourself, you probably could. You can buy a tool. It goes onto your pool pole that has a little locking mechanism. You put it over top of the head, you twist, you pull it out, you make the replacement and put it in. So our warranty, if you call Pentair and you say, hey, I got a system with your system in it and my head's broke and I'm the original owner, we just ship that head directly to them. They can have their pool guy put it in, or they can give it a whirl and put it in themselves. It's real easy.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
One thing also I want to touch on, we talked about it at lunch the other day, was how the spa was cleaned by the floor system. Mm-hmm. And I was actually kind of a skeptic of exactly how he said it was cleaned, which I agree with now, but there's 2 ways that it could be cleaned. Can you just go into that real quick?
Yeah. It's if you think about the way most pools are built with a one pump system, your spa drain is only on when you use that spa, because you're going to pull that cold water out, throw it through the filtration system, and put it back through your therapy jets. You're going to heat it up and you're going to enjoy it. So the in-floor, when it comes on, is not going down to that drain when the suction's on, right? When the flow is on. However, believe it or not, because the body of water is so small in a spa, in most cases, unless it's a Farley design,
there's a few big spots.
The debris that's in that, it's because it's such a small body of water, actually elevates itself and goes over the spillway. So the only time that could be a challenge is if you have a completely isolated spa with no type of spillway, whether it's a zero-ed spa, then that could be a challenge because there's no way to lift that debris and send it out over into the pool.
Yeah.
But in that case, you're probably looking at separate equipment to have a spa separated from your pool anyhow, so it's usually not an issue. The other way is have your spa come on every day for 15 minutes or manually turn the spa on, grab your pole, your brush, and if you see any sediment in the bottom of that spa that has not gone over the spillway, you can simply brush that down into the drain and it gets sucked up and goes right to the filter. So there's two quick ways. But believe it or not, out of all the pool, the spa is one of the easier areas to clean because it's such a small body of water. So usually they're not, not an issue, not a lot of troubleshooting typically with spas. They work great.
Oh, yeah. And
unlike the cleaner, because I haven't figured out how they can climb that wall and get in there.
Hasn't evolved yet.
Yeah. Can't pass through walls.
Somebody's going to come up with it eventually. But
and like you said, it's easiest one to clean, but also I've seen spas without any floor system in them, and they're probably the easiest to get dirty.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And dirty sometimes have a tendency to turn green first.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the circulation. So as you have the in-floor cleaning system in a spa, take out the cleaning aspect of it. About every 9 to 15 minutes, you're pumping in about 60 gallons of fresh, clean, filtered, chlorinated, ozone, UV water into that spa, and it keeps it crystal clear.
So would you rather do a beach vacation or a mountain getaway?
Oh, man, that's a tough one for me. Well, if it's in summertime and I'm in Texas, right now I'm doing the mountain.
Okay, I'm there with you.
Yep.
100%.
If you could swim in any body of water in the world, natural or man-made, where would it be?
There is a special place in the Philippines. I do not know the name of this, but you can Google it on YouTube, or you can search it on YouTube, and I think the title is The Most Beautiful Place in the World. Okay. And this young couple goes, and it's in the middle of, watching the video, it looks like it takes them like 8 hours on this little rickety boat to get there.
Oh, boy.
Watch the video.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing how beautiful the Philippines can be, but this place is so remote. It's by yourself. We could all skinny dip and no one would ever see us. So it would be a great place to swim.
That's awesome. And the last one is, what's the craziest request you've ever received for a client when it comes to just the overall design aspect of someone implementing a floor system? Has there been anything like, wow, what are they doing?
There's probably quite a few that I could think of. One fun one, and we will not mention the celebrity, but the celebrity is a sport celebrity. He plays for a team that's red.
Okay.
And he was going to build a pool with red tile. And there's a builder somewhere that's probably going to know this story. His whole pool was going to be all red tile, and he wanted red pop-up heads. So I was like, okay. So the first thing I do is Google net worth of X basketball player. So now you can narrow it down to who it might be. I'm like, yeah, maybe he could afford this. So let's find out. So I contact the molding facility at our company and said, hey, what would it take to run some red pop-up heads so that we can make this pool mats for this guy? And they're like, why would someone do that? I explain the story. Well, yeah, we can do that. I go, please find out from our molding facility what's the minimum run. Okay. Come back a week later. No problem, we'll run red. 5,000 pop-up heads is what they wanted as a minimum run.
That's crazy.
I let them know, and obviously it wasn't in his budget because we didn't do it. But I thought it was so cool that, hey, this would be the first one. The other one, this one goes way back in the day. There's a few guys that might listen to that remember this one, but Mike Tyson, we'll mention his name because I don't think he'll hopefully not come after me. If you remember back in the day when Mike Tyson was in his prime, he purchased some white tigers. Remember the white tigers? They're like the ones that are in Vegas show and all that kind of stuff. And he had some tigers. A pool builder in Las Vegas designed and developed his pool. It had in-floor cleaning system in it. And we, as a sales team, kept trying to convince the owner of the company that we needed to come up with a marketing campaign that not only can our cleaning system clean debris out of your pool, we can also clean tiger poop. And he didn't go for it, unfortunately. But I thought it was pretty cool that, hey, there's a pool around with tigers swimming in it. And I'm always curious if he ever damaged one of the heads. If anybody can damage a pop-up head, it'd probably be that white tiger.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's huge. Dad, same question. Have you done anything crazy with the in-floor system at all?
Oh, I guarantee he has.
Yeah.
So the big splash pad that I did is actually ran by your in-floor cleaning valve.
Oh, okay.
So that was a cool thing that I did that most people wouldn't think of using your system for, but
yes,
it's great because the heads all, the splash pad heads, some go down, some go up as the valve rotates through all the things. So it's a really cool setup, and it looks like it's random, but it's not as it goes through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that was a fun one that I did not too long ago.
That actually reminds me, we haven't talked about the valve box at all. So you want to go deeper into that?
So that's probably the one thing that I get pushback from clients on is the valve.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we talk about it at the layout meeting and we're like, this valve, which is about the size of a dinner plate, is going to sit here, and this is how high it's going to be. And then we install it, and they're like, oh my God, move that thing. I don't want that there.
Right.
And it's like, okay, it's going to be, I always try to put it in a landscape area. So there's going to be some plants or some things around it to kind of hide it. And I said, this is why we put it here. If we put it somewhere else, it's going to be worse. But I've had clients who are like, well, put it back at the equipment pad. Well, the equipment's 75 feet away from the pool. And so explain how this valve works and where it should be.
Yeah, that description's perfect. It's about the size of a dinner plate. It's round. It's probably 12 inches tall, and it's got 6 pipes that come out the bottom. So there's a purpose why that can be a struggle sometimes. We do have restrictions on the location of that valve based on hydraulic engineering that we do. So
100%.
Back to design, just not only laying the pop-up heads out, we actually take in consideration everything else is on the pool. If you fill out the information sheet and it's sent to us and you tell us it's got spillways and bubblers and all these other features are going, we take all that in consideration when we design. So that means that we have to hydraulically put this valve. This valve, for you guys that can't envision this, is a round dome with a system in there that opens and closes each individual port that goes back, like the sprinkler system. Instead of being electronic and having wires tied to it, it's mechanical. Water comes in, it lifts the cam, it opens up the zones, the pop-up heads, and then they rotate through. So when we design that, sometimes it's hard to take consideration of what your backyard looks like, but we need that as close to the pool as possible for 2 reasons. Hydraulically, it's more efficient if we can keep that close to the pool. The second reason is there's 2-inch pipe coming out of the bottom of this valve that has to go to your pool. So if we put it 150 feet all the way back to maybe where you're placing your pool equipment, we got to turn around and run 6, 12, 15, 20 lines in some cases with Farley pools and run those all the way back to the pool. So we're also trying to reduce some of the cost of having this installed. But the main factor is hydraulics. It needs to be as close to the pool as possible. Putting it in a planter behind a retaining wall is the perfect place. So, and it's not going to be perfect, but I'm sure we can find a shrub to hide it behind.
Well, that's what I try. So I'm going to hold this up. So on YouTube, you'll get to see this, but this is a typical layout. So there are literally, they design the whole pool, and then there's actually dimensions between all the heads. So it's triangulated. So the plumbers will know exactly where to put this in place. So it's not like some willy-nilly type situation. It is very, very detailed. And this is a simple one because it's a rectangular pool.
Yes.
So I get into pools that sometimes the shapes are crazy and, then the layouts are bizarre. So, and this is one had a vanishing edge on it. So we had the system for the vanishing edge as well as the system for the pool and the system for the front fountain and the system for the courtyard fountain. So,
Yes.
all the different ones that we had going on. Now, the first question I ever had about this was, and I forgot to ask this earlier on, is what happens when you have a leak underneath the pool? That must happen like all the time.
Well, as mentioned, I've been doing this close to 25 plus years. And does it happen? I'm sure it's happened somewhere.
I'm sure it's happened
in my
somewhere.
career. Less than 1 or 2 times I've ever been involved in that situation. So
And
it's extremely rare. If you're working with a reputable pool company, they know the rules. And the rules are everything stays under pressure during the construction of that pool the entire time. And as a homeowner, if you don't know that, you should, because you're the extra eyes in that backyard.
Oh, yeah.
So if that system is held under pressure for the entire construction process and not relieved until the startup process or the plaster process or the interior finish process, there is no issue. Can the ground move? Can an earthquake happen and something happen? Sure. But same thing can happen in your house at any time. And if anybody had an underground leak under your house, it's typically repairable.
So in my experience, I have not ever had a situation come up.
Yeah, it's extremely rare.
But that was my first thought when I saw this system, because I installed sprinkler systems. I come from the landscape side, and it's like, you get leaks and all kinds of stuff, but the preparation and the care and the pressure that this is all put under, and this, the checks and balances it holds up extremely, extremely well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And if I can make a shameless plug, we been talking about gunite pools. This is also available for vinyl pools. For you guys up in the north and the northeast, this system can be designed into vinyl pools. So it's a little bit different install. It's not always in the steps and benches, because if you're familiar with vinyl pools or if you had one in the past, they typically have stainless steel steps or some kind of alternative. So it's a little more challenging to put those in the steps. But the drain and the pop-up heads themselves can be used in vinyl. So I just wanted to...
And the Venturi skimmer.
And the Venturi skimmer. Yep.
So,
yep.
Awesome. Do pool service people like your system?
No.
And why would that be?
It's probably one of the biggest I hate your system comments I get if I'm in a situation where I'm with a lot of pool service maintenance guys that are running their businesses, and that's what they do. They maintain their pools and chemicals and all that. Most of the time it's in fear of what the product is. They don't know exactly how it works, or it maybe has broke and they've picked up an older system, then maybe the pool's 10 years old and there's something wrong. One of the heads or several of the heads are broken, or the valve that controls it are broken. And their first reaction typically is, I don't know anything about this thing, so I'm going to turn it off. So I encourage that industry to please reach out to us in the in-floor business, because we can reduce your time in that backyard if we can get that system back up and running. And it's very efficient. At one time or another, whether that's the original homeowner or not, that system, unless it was installed improperly by the builder, it's going to work. It just needs to be turned back on or replace some parts to it. So it's common for them, and to me, it seems to be education. So if your pool guy is telling you don't buy an in-floor, hit one of us up. I can help you through that and probably help him through that, because it's not true.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, there's other things that we haven't discussed today that we should discuss.
I think we've done a pretty good job. We didn't talk a lot about negative edge pools or vanishing edge pools. I think your comment about those, a lot of people are still designing those, especially if you have a lake lot or a lot on the coast where you're looking at the ocean. These seem extremely popular. And like he said, that becomes a giant pit for debris. So for me, it's a no-brainer. In-floor cleaning pop-up heads need to be in that trough, and debris removal drains need to be in that system.
Well, I know some people that don't even put filter systems on them, which is, I think, horrible.
On in-floor?
No, on a
On
vanishing edge
Yeah.
basin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's common.
They both need
Believe it or
filters.
not.
So to me, it has to be on a separate system. It has to have a filter. It has to have in-floor cleaning. It has to have a sanitation system.
Yeah.
So
Not only that, if you're working with a builder that's telling you he can do all of it on one system, you need to examine the builder you're working with or your designer. That is not true. I've been doing this for a long time like you, Mike, and I've been in backyards that are horror stories because someone has tried to take a one pump system on a big, beautiful negative edge and things just don't work. And it can be an absolute nightmare and a big investment to try to correct it. You could be core drilling holes in that pool to try to make this thing work. So
That's one thing we haven't touched on. Is it possible to do a remodel of a pre-existing shell?
absolutely. A lot of builders seem to be very shy from that, and there's legitimate reasons to be shy.
Yeah.
If a pool builder is going to remodel your pool, I would highly, highly suggest that you do some kind of concrete testing to make sure that the structure of that pool is sound. Because to add this to a pool without major depth changes, like bringing the depth a lot shallower, you're going to have to tap into the shell of that pool. If it's a strong, very well designed, very well engineered pool, you're probably safe. If it's just maybe the builder didn't use much steel, it was a quick go build, and you break into this thing,
it's Swiss cheese.
It could be bad.
Yeah.
So
I'm
caution, does it get done?
Yeah.
A lot. The best way to do it is if you're looking at a remodel and you want to add it, is you need to consider depth changes. Take the deep in and turn it into a shallower pool. Take the 4 foot in and turn it into a 3 foot in, so that all of this can be built on top of the structure and then added to it. So, but it does get done pretty regularly.
I'm surprised. I didn't know it was possible.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to say no.
It's not for the faint of heart. I mean, it can be challenging.
I told my wife it was impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she goes all the time to all these photo shoots, and they're like, yes, they've got an in-floor system. We didn't get one because, you wouldn't put it in because of all the trees.
Yeah.
But we could do it now.
Yeah.
I'm like, well.
Yeah. I'm sure your wife is like mine. She asks this question all the time, whether we're going out to dinner with friends or going out with customers or anybody above. Is that all you talk about is swimming pools? Like, well, all my friends and all my customers are in the business. So yes, I do. And one thing that, even though she knows nothing about technically what I do, the few homes that I've bought over the years, if it had a pool, she immediately said, oh, it doesn't have that pop-up thing. I don't think we should buy it. So I mean, I've had influence. And I think if you own one, you're going to feel the same way. I mean, we have a lot of people that transplant around the U.S. that have been either in California or Arizona and Florida, where a little bit more popularity of these things, and they'll come into these markets and different markets and demand it. So it's a great product.
It's the number one question that I ask that most people have no knowledge of. So highly recommend people to check it out, and it can make life a lot more enjoyable and functional for what you're going to try to do in your backyard.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate you coming on today
I'm glad to be here. This was a lot of fun.
and sharing, and we'll look forward to answering any questions that, if you have, please send them in to us through social media, or you can also send them into the website, and we will get into more details if you have more questions. We'll also be posting this on YouTube, so you can send your questions there as well. So thanks again.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. Thank you.
That was an interesting episode.
It was.
Is there something that you enjoyed or learned or was enlightening to you?
I was definitely surprised that you could put an in-floor system in on a remodel job. That shocked me. I would probably never do it because it seems sketchy, but you can do it. It's possible.
Well, and I think what his recommendation was with changing the depth.
Yeah,
is
that makes sense.
You could come in and put the in-floor in and then gunite over the whole thing. And that way you're not cutting the pool and the Swiss cheese to make this happen.
Yeah.
And if you're coming in and adding a spa at the same time, like I've got a project right now where we're going to raise the deep end and make it a shallow end. We're adding a spa. And so we could probably, with a little bit of manipulation, add in floor to the whole thing as well.
Yeah.
So yes, that was, and
I just didn't know it was possible. So I never even thought, because I thought every single time you would have to, core holes in the bottom of the end. It's like, where's the rebar? You hit rebar, they're going to have a weak spot in the steel and, et cetera. So raising the floor makes a lot of sense.
yeah. So I had never thought of, if you change the whole floor depth up, that would make sense. So the one thing that I didn't know is that how often you would service the valve, and there was, the service wasn't very frequent, but the system, and it's just my experience, is there's not a whole lot that has to be done with it over maintenance over a long period of time. But it was interesting to hear how limited he had with maintenance on systems and problems with systems and repairs under pools that, with very little frequency that occurred.
Yeah, I worked and did startups, so I dealt with these systems a lot, from just getting the pumps going, and the overall startup of the maintenance side of a floor system was the only issues I would see is maybe I didn't blow out a line a little bit enough, and there's some debris underneath it. So when you put in the floor head, it it sticks up, and they're like, hey, this floor head's stuck. So all you have to do is pop it out and blow it out a little bit, get the debris out, and then put it back in. I've never seen one actually broken, when it was in the pool. The only time I've seen a broken head was if you dropped it outside the pool, and it, but actually breaking, it's like you have to get a pickaxe and hit the head.
Well, I had a client one time that actually tried to
break it, yeah.
break a head in the pool. So when it was popped up, and
goggles on and everything,
he said it hurt his foot more than it hurt the head.
Oh, I bet.
He was kicking at it and trying to snap it off and
turn into Achilles.
Anyway, not a successful journey. But I think it's as I mentioned, I think it's a great product. My feeling is that the drain that they use and the Venturi skimmers, to me, should be on every single pool.
It's an amazing system. Yeah.
And just that alone creates a much more user-friendly place, more energy efficient place. But the in-floor cleaning, the percentage of people that have had it and not had it previously and then have it, they're just thrilled with how the whole thing works. So is it going to clean your pool 100% of the days, 365? No. There's certain times of the year you're going to have to help it quite a bit, especially if you're in what I call the thicket, like I am, with all the oak trees and dropping. There's a month period of time that I don't care what you're taking care of, you're going to have to do a lot of work. Because, I take 100, large trash bags, commercial grade trash bags of leaves out of my yard every year. And there's probably, 20 of them that land in the bottom of the pool. So,
yeah.
It takes some work. So, but it's a fabulous system.
And on top of that, you only have the fall. The fall is where it's the biggest issue because of the leaves. And a lot of people, we've had people put in cleaners, and the only time they have cleaners with the floor system installed, the only time they use it is during the fall.
To help supplement that, yes.
Exactly. And they still have to clean out the cleaner bag and everything like that, clean out the
Skimmers.
Leaf canister.
Right.
You can't just leave it and just have it, stockpile leaves. They're still going to fall. But after the fall, you're good. You can take that cleaner out. You don't have to worry about it and just, running around.
Correct.
So, yeah.
So, awesome. Well, anything else to add?
I think that's it. But I love the product, and like I said, I worked in the service startup side, and their customer support is amazing. So when I ever had issues, he would always come out. He was very fast, and he wouldn't just fix something and then leave and let me brief the customer. He would want to talk to the customer himself and help educate them on what this product is, because once they leave and it's started up, it's on the customer to take care of the pool. So it's the more the customer knows, the better off.
Well, once again, this is all about information.
Yes.
And the more information we can give people, the better you can make decisions. And this is a big financial decision, but the ramifications are huge over the lifetime of this pool that you're going to have it and how well you're going to enjoy it. So I think it's something you certainly want to do some research on. But once again, this is Poolside Perspective Podcast. We consider anything outdoors, swimming pool, outdoor related, that we can talk about and help you get information on. Please send your requests into us if this has been helpful. If you go onto Apple, you can give us a 5-star review. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you later.
And looking at a net is a lot worse than having a floor system.
Yeah.